Welcome back to our Coach's Corner feature this week, and we're going to wrap up softball season with Coach Freeman. What a year the girls softball team had this year, coming an eyelash away from making the state tournament, 25 wins. Jared, congratulations. Been a couple of weeks since the last game, but I know you're still very proud of what this team accomplished.
It was a great year. The kids really bought in. You know, as a head coach, you always just want them to invest everything and buy into your what you're selling them. And this team, I can honestly say they bought all the way in and just came up short in the regional tournament.
We coaches talk about them, and we have coaches right now that talk about a plan and how much time it takes to build things. You had the same plan 3 years ago, and it took you a couple of years to really get to where you want to be. But where do you think the program is right now? After a 25-win season, you play a lot of young players. Is the program right on track?
I think so. You know, it was the first year you wanted to teach them the system. You wanted to teach them to be competitive, to expect to compete, to hate to lose. I mean, that's a thing that this group of kids, that we just hate to lose, and when we do lose, we're going to do something about it the next game. And I don't know that I think one time we lost 2 games in a row all year, and other than that, we always corrected our problems. But, you know, my first year we won 25% of our games, or excuse me, 30. We won 33%. The second year was 50%, and then this year was 75%. So, I mean, you can see, I mean, we took the steps that we had talked about as far as building a program, and we're a top 10 team. We were an eyelash away from hosting a regional. We are a really, really poor call at the plate away from being in the driver's seat to make a state tournament. And, you know, so as far as the development of the program, I think we're right where I expected us to be and wanted us to be.
The last few weeks of the season, Ponca was one of the unbeatable teams in the state. You had a great finish. You thought some early losses might bite you, and they did. You ended up going to the Jinx Regional, which is the regional that I know we had talked about. You thought and kind of hoped you'd go to because you felt like you could win that. And if we go back and look at that regional, a close call that went against your team really put you in a scenario where you had to win 3 instead of 1, and probably in a lot of ways mentally did as much damage to your team as anything.
It did, you know. And I told the guy that night, I said, it's a shame that these 2 teams have worked so hard all summer and all fall to be at this point, and you're kind of getting in the way of it, and you need to let the kids decide. Not to harp on it, but
right.
It was some of the worst officiating. I know they're umpires, but some of the worst officiating that I've been a part of in all my years of athletics. But I'll tell you, I mean, the proudest, and I said this in the newspaper, the proudest of this team that I was all year is when we got off the bus the next day and we were facing an elimination game. And it would have been easy for us to come out flat, to come out upset that we feel like we got slighted the night before. And instead of hanging our heads and being upset, we went and we hung 5 runs on Bartlesville. And really, to me, that half inning kind of just told me everything I needed to know about my team as far as our resolve and our fight. And so I was awfully proud of that. But yeah, you know, when you should have been or could have been coming back to win 1 game to go to the state tournament versus 3,
right,
it was a tall task. Beating Jinx twice in a row and all that stuff. So it made it hard.
And that's the point, I guess, here is if it's regular season, there's always tomorrow. But at that particular moment, you go from a team that has to win 1 game to a team that has to expend the energy to try to win 3 games, and very rarely does that happen. But you mentioned you came back, you beat Bartlesville, and then lost to Jinx, and ended the season at 25-9. But boy, what a boost this has to be, and boy, you've got to be looking forward, Coach, to already some of the things you're going to be implementing in the off season. You're our baseball coach, so that will take up a lot of your time. But this has to be a pretty good group of girls to work with.
It is. We had no drama. I mean, this team really gets along. They're a really tight-knit group. As much time as we spend together, they have to be. I mean, if you've got, you know, arguing and bickering and stuff like that and selfishness over playing time, then it won't work. And we didn't have any problems with the kids. And so, I mean, I'm just awfully proud of them. And like you said, at the end of the year, the message was stay hungry, because we do start a lot of sophomores and a lot of freshmen. And a lot of times, for whatever reason, they have more distractions. They have a driver's license. They have all these things that become as important as everything else. And we told these girls, you got to stay hungry, because there's only, you know, really there's only one more step to take, and that is we've got to reach a state tournament next year for it to be a success. And if we don't make a state tournament, then it's not going to be, to me, it'll be a failure, because that's the next step in the progression. Is we've taken steps forward, and now we've got to host a regional, and we've got to make that state tournament, or else, to me, it's a bust.
Well, and when you play the schedule you do, it's awful tough to break in through that Owasso, Broken Arrow, Jinx thing. And I mean, that's a tough thing. Sand Springs was able to do it, but you know, there's other schools waiting right there, and I think you're one of them, don't you?
I think so. I mean, they for whatever reason they stopped doing the rankings, which I thought was unfortunate for us. That we finally were able to become a top 7, 8, 9 caliber team, and then all of a sudden we decided to quit ranking, because that's, to me, I know it doesn't mean anything, but it was still an honor that Ponca City softball was has gone from where it was to being a top 10 program. But you know, we split with Broken Arrow. That was one of our highlight wins, was beating a Broken Arrow team 4-3 here, and we gave them another fight at their place and ended up losing 3-0. But I think we've, you know, I told the girls we took that step, and we're right behind those two programs. And next year we need to take a step where we're right there in the same breath and in the same category as those two teams.
Congratulations, 25 wins, girls softball coach Jared Freeman. A great season. Coach Freeman on this week's edition of Coach's Corner.